Welcome to Business Coaching Secrets with Karl Bryan. If you want to attract new high-end coaching clients, fill live events, and build a wildly profitable coaching practice where business owners pay, stay, and refer, you've come to the right place. In this podcast, Karl provides his keys to the kingdom for finding and signing high-paying clients and building the coaching business of your dreams. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, coaches around the world, welcome to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. It's your boy, the Road Dog. And I'm here with the only guy that I know that not only has a shrine of Tom Brady, but actually lights candles under it before every game. So I'm curious, Karl, what's that look like now that he's retired?
Shoots. What am I going to do with all these candles?
It's, you know what? Now all of a sudden, it's like your wife would be like, that's where they went, right? Like you've been stealing them from her, from the bedroom, I'm sure. There you go, bud.
Candlestick maker might be making a comeback. This is
there you go. You know what? And just in time for Valentine's Day, just put those candles beside the bed shoots. You're welcome. There you go, folks.
So what's happening? What's going on? You're in fine form. I can see, Shoots.
You see, and it's funny because when I'm in fine form, as I told you in the pre-show, you know what the fans love? More of me and less of you, Shoots. So there it is. Maybe 100% in my mind, but that's okay. I'll take it. Hey, listen, we had somebody write in, and young guy. Okay, it's kind of cool for me to now be able to say 30 is young. Man, 30. What were you doing at 30, Shoots? Like, what kind of nonsense were you up to like 25 years ago?
I remember my 30th birthday party like it was yesterday. My good buddy Joni Moe and I, we fellow hockey bud, and we had a rip snorter of a 30th. But you remember 30, man? I thought this is old. I thought, wow, we're 30. But yeah, there you go, Shoots.
So this guy writes in, and he's got a question. He wants to know, Karl, what's the best advice that you can give a 30-year-old business coach looking to become, wait for it, rich?
Is that literally what's written?
That's literally what's written there, and I'm going to let you have some fun with that.
Okay. What do we say, Shoots? So, look, 30, let me just tell you that hardest worker doesn't make it. I was listening to something on the weekend, it was like, let's just go Grant Cardone, Gary Vee. Look, great guys, very successful, Yeti, blah, 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 whatever. But the hustle and grind, I just think that's the new stupid. That's a little bit of an exaggeration, but hustle and grind, be careful with that. The hardest worker doesn't make it. Otherwise, the cook at the restaurant doing 12-hour shifts, or the laborer digging ditches for, half of the 24-hour day, they would be rich, and they most certainly are not. So working smart. So if that's the problem and that's not where to go, working smart combined with work ethic, and then consistency, right from the pre-show Shoots, like consistency, guys, that's going to get, let's stay on theme here, get the riches. Getting rich is about smarts. It's about timing. It's about proximity. I think, otherwise stated, okay, so knowing what to do, when to do it, and who to do it with. I think that might be some, again, because keep in mind you're 30. If it's 55, I'm going to be given a different answer, right? But I think if you build your roadmap with that in mind, knowing what to do, when to do it, who to do it with, I think if you write your roadmap with those things in mind, you're going to be doing well. Because, offering like if it's the dead of winter and you're selling ice cream, how do you think you're going to be doing, right? It's just, you might be doing okay, right? Like, as in, people still buy ice cream in the dead of winter, but let me tell you, in the summer, you're going to be selling 4 to 5 times as much, right? You're offering carpet cleaning, and then you realize that the people you're promoting it to and where you're promoting it, all those people are renting their houses. I got bad news that they're not the type of people that are going to be cleaning their carpets, right? But when you own the property, significantly better chance. And then, by the way, the other trend is hardwood floors. So you're also going to find that there's not going to be, if you are cleaning carpets, you're in trouble already because you've got, you're operating in an industry on decline. And if you've listened to Road Dogg and I for any period of time, you know that we talk about trends. You want to make money, you follow a trend. And not a what do I want to call it? What's the opposite of not something short term popular, but a trend that we can see long term, like Elon Musk and electric vehicles, right? Like, do you think that is a long term solution, or do you think that's something that's going to fade out? If you look at the marketplace and the trend, and Range Rover's got one, and Porsche's got one, and Ferrari's bringing one out, you know what I mean? When you see the trend, all the companies have got them now, right? So that's an example of the right kind of trend, something blip, like Pokemon. Why did I just say that? But like Pokemon, you know what I mean? Like give me a break, right? Anyway, so these are the types of things you want to be thinking about. But hard work for the sake of hard work is a path to nowhere. Road Dogg, there's a saying: the reward for hard work is more work, right? So be a little bit careful with that. That's where I think, again, at 30, looking to become rich, just that wording. I think somebody like that might fall into the hustle and grind, go, 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 go. That is, the consistency and the work ethic is important, but you've got to couple that with intelligence, right? Like according to Warren Buffett, the richest people are the people who go to bed a little bit smarter every day, right? He reads for 50 to 80% of his day. And then the other part of his day, he'll tell you, the other part of his work day is spent on the phone with smart people who he respects and respect him, right? So press pause for a minute, go to yesterday, go to last week, go to last month, go to last quarter. When you look at, let's just put 9 hours in the day and assume you're going to be working for 9 hours a day. What percentage of that time was spent learning, reading, and let's include audio and video in that, because you don't have to be a mass reader nowadays with YouTube and whatnot. You can put everything on high speed. I think that there's value there. I do think you'll get more when you read it. But that being said, if you consume twice as much, there's a debate to say that you'd be better off. But of the last month, how much of your time has been spent on the phone with people who you respect and who respect you, and how much of it has been, with you learning, right? And not, reading, what I mean? Not the same, if you're a really good salesperson and you're doing sales, I'm all about elevating your abilities and pouring gasoline on your talents. But if you're a really good salesperson, you're probably horrifically disorganized. And I do think you should be spending 20% of your time reading books, consuming audios, consuming videos around becoming more conscientious, stopping, thinking, learning, studying mental models, and kind of slowing down to speed up. I think that would be a really good use of your time. So are you doing that? You know what I mean? And 30-year-old wanting to become rich, my question is, what is your skill set? If I'm going to coach anybody, you guys know the framework. Little red arrow, you are here. Establish that. Establish what it is that you want. And then the coaching is basically those 2 points. I would do the same here. This person's like ridiculously hot at sales. Look, I want him to continue to elevate a sales game, but I also want him to take a good percentage of their time, a decent percent of their time, and working on things that are critical to success in a business. Like conscientiousness is a superpower to somebody who wants to become successful in business. And it only comes naturally to a small percentage of the population, which means the rest of us have to work on it. And that's important, so that brings me to another thought. Like, when you're learning, so let's say that you're reading a book, you're listening to an audio, and you feel a little bit bewildered or frustrated, right? Like you just feel like you're on the edge of, your mental bandwidth. Like, what the hell is this guy talking about? What the hell is this gal talking about? I want you to think of that's the equivalent of when you're working out and you hit the wall when you're lifting weights. Like, let's say your goal is to do 10 and you get to 7 and you need a little bit extra, you need somebody to put their fingers on the weight to just give it, or you kind of got to give a little bit of a little bit of a little bit of a breathe out and a little bit of a grunt to get it up. I think that's when you're learning. Okay, let's assume this 30-year-old is a really hot salesperson. If we put a sales book, a sales audio, a sales video in front of them, I think it's going to be easy for them to consume. Okay, straightforward. Sure, you can agree with that. If we put a management book, a management audio, a management video in front of them, or something about becoming conscientious, or something, I don't know if that exists, but learning with mental models and maybe some mental model training, I think that this person would become disinterested, struggle to stay interested, and it would push their limits a little bit. And I think that's a really, really good thing for him, her, or you listening. I think that's what you should be looking for. The same way you look at, if you just go to the gym and you lift 7 yesterday, you lift 7 today, and you lift 7 tomorrow, how far you're maintaining. And look, that's a heck of a lot better than not going. But if you're doing 7, I want you to actually track it, because you're probably not doing that. And I want you to get to 8. And then once you get to 8, I want you to get to 9, right? And by the way, Road Dog love it, but I don't want you to get hurt, okay? So do it in a smart way, because if you lift weights, you train, you're an athlete. The worst thing that can go wrong is getting hurt. So anyway, so that, I don't know. Does that help? As you're learning and whatnot, you want to become rich, you got to be conscientious, man. That, it's like just recently, Road Dog, I said, look, if I had a few extra bucks, I would put it into Facebook or Meta, right? And sure as heck, just over late last week, Meta had a big pop, and the reason. And I don't pretend to be the stock guy, right? And I'm not, I'm not, you listen to people way, 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 way smarter than I in that area. But I can tell you that I am spending time on it. I am focusing on it to a small degree, because I like to keep myself on a macro level. I want to keep myself educated and know, where the trends are going and what the big boys are doing. And we talk about that kind of stuff often in the podcast, right? Well, one of the reasons, you can read financial statements. We run a 4-day training on how to read financial statements. And if you haven't done it, and you're a client of ours, it's for clients only, and you should absolutely do it. But one of the things, when you can read a financial statement, what Meta did, the reason I thought that this was going to go in very much the right direction, first of all, the stock was down 75%. But what they did is they wrote off all the expenditure, all the expenses that go into Meta, they just wrote off. And they could have amortized it over a number of years, but they didn't do that, which made their financials look horrific for a short period of time. But what's going to happen on the back end of that? It's that they no longer have those expenses, and they've got the access, they've got the Oculus, they've got all of this operating, and so basically a lot of that expense was gone. Not to mention they're going to be staring straight at Twitter and see that they have 25% of the staff, where they used to have 100%, and the site is still running and the business is still running pretty well. Other tech firms are looking directly at that, going, "Wow, could we, get rid of 75% of the fat, 75% of our staff, and still operate in a very much functional way?" And that fundamentally what was happening, and that is what happened. Again, by studying, by learning, by paying attention, rather than watching the next Netflix show and getting addicted to some, silly series on TV, concentrating on that kind of stuff. And maybe there's a balance there for you. I'm not saying don't watch Netflix. I'm not saying don't have a social life. I'm not saying don't, spend all your time hustling, grinding in your business. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is be strategic, be intelligent, be conscientious about what it is that you're doing. Be strategic about it. Don't follow the hustle and grind thing. Maybe Road Dog, I want to throw this back to you here, but you want to be rich, you got it. Kobe Bryant, insane speed requires immense clarity, right? You got to know what it is that you want. 10 clients at $2,000 a month by this date. Get really, really clear. The Kobe Bryant thing is that when he was 15, he wanted to be the greatest basketball player of all time. He stared in the camera, literally said that at the age of 15, right? And never deviated until literally, the day that he died. And he believed that he got there. What I'm getting at is that if you were Kobe Bryant, if you want to be the greatest basketball player of all time, do you train 3 times a day or once a day? You know the answer 3 times a day. If you're going to train 3 times a day, do you start at 5 a.m. or do you start at noon? You know the answer. You start at 5 a.m. If you want to be the greatest basketball player of all time, do you eat broccoli or do you eat chocolate? You know the answer. It's broccoli. And no doubt you have a couple of chocolates once in a while and a couple of beers once in a while. But at the end of the day, he's dialed in. Do you go to the bar and drink until 4 a.m. on Friday when you have a game on Saturday? The answer is obvious. Do you form personal relationships with your teammates knowing how important they are? The answer is yes. Are you still on the court, are you very hard on them, and do you demand absolute excellence and demand absolute best from them? Like if they are out at 4 a.m. drinking and then showing up stinking like booze on Saturday, like do you say something? Do you keep your mouth shut? Do you make a big deal of it in front of the team? Or do you pull them aside and say, look, man, I don't like this behavior and it reflects poorly on us as a leadership group and us as a team. And we got our butt kicked as a result of you playing bad. Do you know what I mean? Like, do you see how if you knew exactly what you wanted? So if you want to build a coaching company that grosses $500,000 a year, 80% margins, and this is where you wanted to end up, and you're going to do it in this way. Again, insane speed requires immense clarity. Get really, really clear on what it is that you want. And you got to be. The other thing is, you want to get rich as a business coach. You need to be amazing. Don't kid yourself. You need to be good. You need to be amazing. You don't want to just be like vanilla and have you take on your coaching clients and have them get enough results so they don't cancel you. I think too many coaches are concentrating on not trying to get canceled instead of trying to change the life of the individual that they're coaching. And how do you do that? You study, and just pick one thing, like with consistency. You're going to do live events, do them. Don't deviate, do live events. Do trade shows, don't deviate. You can do direct mail, don't deviate. You can do Facebook advertising, don't deviate. You're going to do networking, don't deviate. You know what I mean? Like just get one plan and then go. So shoots, loaded, young guy wants to crush it. He's got to get really, really clear on what he wants. And I think that the rest of everything kind of fills itself in, but he's, you gotta be amazing. You gotta learn, study. And that's, I think, operating in a strategic, intelligent way versus hustle, grind, that some of the influencers might convince you. That might not be a great idea. What do you think, Shoots? That's my answer, bud.
Well, Jesus. Yeah, so I'll just say I think it's to your point, I actually think it's a really weak question. It's very self-serving, and I think going into it with the mindset of how do I become rich off of other people is the kind of the thing that's not going to make you rich, at least for the long term, in my opinion. But before we go any deeper on that, I just want to sidetrack because I wanted to bring this up actually. I briefly talked about when we first got going, and that is, so you mentioned it, and that's what triggered it for me. Twitter laying off as many people, and everybody's doing it right now, right? It's crazy the amount of layoffs that are happening, especially with big tech. Dude, you're now over 30 staff. What's that like? Do you sometimes just sit there and go like, man, I do not want to be an HR company. Do you sometimes just sit there and go, man, if I could just go back and make as much as I make net with a lot less people, is that, how do you, what's that like?
Good question. Yeah, 36 staff, 49 countries, where I would answer, well, again, little red arrow, you are here, and you know me, Road Dog, right? Yeah, drank 1,000 beers together and sat down and had, conversations like this, and then it's about family, and it's about kids, and it's about, our buddies to do. I'm a pretty driven, borderline. I think I used to be a bit what I would call obsessed. I think that I'm you know what I mean? I'm pouring water on that a little bit in a good way, right? Because again, it's so you know what I mean? I want to accomplish a lot, and it, very genuinely, it's not about, hey, how can I buy another car? You know what I mean? It's really making a difference. I set a goal a long time ago. I want to set the standard for the entire business coaching profession. I believe that it is the wild, wild west. There's no real, true leader. Most people would look to say Tony Robbins is the leader, and he's not even really. The guy would be more life coach than business coach all day long and twice on Sunday. There's some other operators out there that, it's just whatever. So no, I really like, I just love the idea of, crushing it, doing something cool, building something that stands the test of time. More importantly, the people that use the system legitimately, like our goal, like again, so you talk, so Zuckerberg had a North Star. Does it help us grow? So if you wanted, so Zuckerberg, you come to him and say, Road Dog goes to Zuckerberg and says, man, I got a great idea for Facebook. You got to take this on. We got to do it. We got to implement it. He would say, okay, send it to me. And then he'd send it. Zuckerberg had one question. Does it help us grow? And this was back in the day, by the way, when he was really growing it. And if it did, he'd take the meeting. If it didn't, I don't know that he would say flat no, but there would have to be some serious extracurricular kind of reasons to take it on. You know what I mean? And then there was Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Does it get me attention? So if there's one room with 5,000 people and there's another room with 20,000 people, Gary Vaynerchuk is turning his, airplane north to go towards the 20,000, the bigger venue with the larger amount of eyeballs, because it gets him more attention, right? He saw Twitter, attention. He saw Facebook, attention. He saw YouTube, attention. Does it get me attention? And that's built a very powerful and formidable brand for Gary Vaynerchuk. So for us, that North Star, it doesn't help a business coach make six figures. So it's kind of like the North Star. So you come to us and it's like, we're going to implement this, we're going to implement that. Does it help one of our clients get the six figures? Now, not again, a lot of our clients get the multiple six figures. Our unicorns hit seven figures, but we're in the business of helping people, build six-figure business coaching companies from the ground up, operating from their house, and they've got financial freedom, they've got location freedom, and they've got all, they got that, that well, all about it, Road Dog. That's like a big thing for you, right? It's like that freedom, and that's what we try to build for folks. So good. Yeah, I hear you, but man, unfortunately for me, maybe I'd be lying to say there's not some days when I wake up and go, what the heck is going on? Lots of moving parts and lots of good stuff. But we have an amazing team, so many passionate people within our 36 staff, all of them, by the way. But just some folks really, doing some amazing stuff. So yeah, buddy, I'd be lying to say there's not some days where I shake my head a little bit and say, what the heck am I doing? But I love what I'm doing. I'm truly blessed, man. And I still feel like I got my feet in the starting blocks, and we're going to do some very, very cool, like some of the things that are coming with the software just blow you away, right? Just blow you away. So I don't know if I'm answering that the best, Shoots, but some days maybe, but 90% of the time, man, I'm just like trying to put my foot on the gas and do more really cool stuff. So
well, speaking of getting attention, we'll have to get an update to see how your OnlyFans is doing later. But before we get there, I wanted to go back to our young guy here looking to become rich, and I want to ask you kind of a better question, and that is, like, what would you say is the number? And again, we had this in the pre-show, right? Somebody was asking the question; they're just getting back into things, whatever. What's the number one way, right, to generate leads in an intelligent way, right? Just to get started. What would you say to that?
Yeah, in an intelligent way. Little star on that one, beauty. Look, it depends. Okay, so is it a newbie, a novice, or an expert, right? This guy's going to hover on newbie, but depending upon little red arrow, you are here. I got to establish, like where are you at, and I give some, some altered advice depending upon that. But it really shoots, look, there's cold calling, right? But of course, I say cold calling, and everybody's like, oh my gosh, you can't cold call, and some people think they're too. I can tell you this: if you're too good for cold calling, you're going to have a hell of a time being successful in coaching. Because again, the reason you're too good, if cold calling is beneath you, then you know what I mean. Like, it's not about you. It's about the business owners. It's about the chiropractor, the dentist, the butcher, baker, candlestick maker. It's about them. So if you're too, what you got to do is got to take cold calling. You need to adjust it, right? You got to have a strategic plan. So you just pick up the phone, smile, and dial. Now that I wouldn't recommend, but you gotta call and say, look, my mentor put me up to a task. I had to call 3 business owners today and solve any problem they have on the spot. Today's your lucky day, or maybe your unlucky day, and feel free to hang up the phone. But if you want, I am here, professional business coach. Many many hours. I got some very professional software behind me where I can find any business owner 100 grand, 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. By the way, the software has 497 million weighted algorithmic sequences that populate a roadmap that somebody could then use. So here's my question, Mr. Business Owner. What's the number one problem you currently have in your business? And let me see if I can solve it right here on the spot. And by the way, so we've had some folks do this. One comes to mind, and she got so busy so quickly that she literally couldn't keep up. Within like a week, maybe it was 2 weeks on the outside, but I believe the first week of calling, she had 10. It was 7 live clients, and she was going. She already had some other stuff going, and she killed it. So, but you could call with that, or go to businesses for sale, right? Call them and say, look, I know you're asking 470 grand for your business, but what if we could get that to 1.4, 1,470,000? Would that help you? Let's chat. You know what I mean? Or go to the chamber website and say, the reason I'm calling, I'm a member of the chamber, you're a member of the chamber. I thought I'd introduce myself, and then see where the conversation goes. Call them and get an interview in your podcast. All of our guys get their own magazine, right? If you're a client of ours, you've got your own magazine connected to like a business academy. Call and do an interview for your magazine. Look at their website. Go and look at 25 websites, and then go. And if you look at 25 websites, you're going to be looking at 23 that are a dog's breakfast, and just say, look, there's a problem with your website. Let me help. Or, say, go to the website and say, look, there's a mistake on your website. Give me a call. And I remember Tony Plies, one of our clients, been a client for a long, long time, many, many years, probably approaching 10 years, a real popular guy on our Q&A calls. But anyways, a long time ago, he's got this story where I just told him, look, this is what you do. Just drive by a billboard. A guy's paying $1,000 a month for the billboard on the side of the road, up the highway. Tell him there's a mistake. Leave your phone number. He calls, literally gets a phone call back. Like the first few calls, he starts driving. He gets a call immediately back. There's a lawyer, called him and said, hey, man, there's a mistake. What do you mean? And he goes, yeah, there's a mistake. No, it's not your phone number that's wrong. It's that your website, that is like a blown up business card. I know you're spending $1,000 a month plus on that billboard. You need to have something compelling. You need to draw their attention. Like, that's the mistake. Boom, he got a $2,000 a month client. Snap a finger straight away. First crack at it. So he just went to an ad, called and said, you got a mistake. Here's my phone number. They thought it was a phone number mistake. In like 20 seconds, he turned them around and said, yeah, no, it's not that. This is the mistake. We actually have a video all of our guys get. It's a lead generation play, but it's like why everything, why what they know about marketing is all wrong. And it's about I don't know how long it is, like 45-minute video that explains to a business owner how they're doing everything wrong. And if you go from that, catch to that video, you do real well. But bottom line, look, so cold calling, but you got to cold call in an intelligent way, right? But there's shoots, then there's networking. There's joint ventures that he could do. I would pick one of these, by the way, and go. I mean, you could do direct mail. That could absolutely work. Do lumpy direct mail where you're sending something, and don't just send it in the mail, but send it FedEx. Trade shows, which is kind of like networking, I guess, but you could specialize in that. But when live events, that's absolutely the main. I'd be doing live events, but you could. Those are the ways to generate lead shoots. But I'd pick one of them, and I would go. What do you think?
Okay, can we unpack these a little bit? Why don't we just kind of go kind of one by one, if you don't mind? I wouldn't mind going just a little bit deeper. Let's just start with networking, right? Like, how do you get clients? Because my God, if you honestly, you couldn't pay me enough to go to a BNI meeting. Like, it's just, I would rather stick needles in my eyes than go to a BNI.
Yeah,
but
but there's 3 phases, right? Newbie, novice, expert. You're just beyond it. There was a time when you're like, okay, yeah, I'll do that, right? But it's the sandbox for sure.
So how do you recommend going and getting clients from networking events, just or networking period in general?
Okay, like anything, I would have a pre-plan. Okay, so before you go to the networking, do some homework, like what are you going to offer, etc. You've got the at networking, have a plan for what you're going to do while you're there, i.e. not just ask for referrals, but give some out. And then you got to have post. You got to have a follow-up, right? The mistake that people make is they go to a networking function with absolutely no plan whatsoever, meet a bunch of average business owners, because that's the type of people that are networking on average. And yes, you'll get some winners and you'll get some absolute, people that you don't want to work with, and then a lot of people in between. But you got to have a bit of a plan. So you got to have a pre-plan, at plan, and then post-plan. But I think shoots like you mentioned BNI, like again, you're just not going to BNI. But there are other, you know what I mean? Like there's higher level, which we talked about, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but there's the golf course, there's some sort of networking going on there. At the yacht club, there's some sort of networking, right? The oil and gas club, et cetera. The chamber, for sure, there's going to be some networking, which will be a slight step up from BNI. But you bring up a good point, Shoots, that you got to accept that if you're networking on average, this is the sandbox if you're going to like BNI. So you want to move up the food chain a little bit, but you will get clients, but you're probably just going to get some clients that won't be sticking around for an enormous amount of time. So
okay, so the next one, actually, yeah, let's talk about JVs before we get. I want to talk about direct mail myself, but let's talk about joint ventures. What? Give me your thoughts on joint ventures.
Okay, so anybody B2B. Okay, so you got a business broker. A business broker is selling businesses. 9 of the 10 phone calls that she gets, are useless, right? So, hey, those 9 people that you hang up the phone and it really just annoys you, send them over to me. Let me work with them for 12 months to 2 years, get them ready to sell, and I'll send them back to you. And by the way, I'll send you, I'll pay you $1,000 per referral that you send my way that sign up, right? That could work. Go to anybody selling advertising, newspaper, coupon book, radio station, magazine, online directory, digital marketer. Go to them with the JV. But what you do with the JV, and I did a YouTube video on this, and we've talked about it, right? But you gotta, I would go whenever I'm going to go to somebody and I want to influence them. I want to work out their problem and then solve it, right? So. Translation, if I go to an accountant, I know that the biggest problem the accountant has is tax season. The reason tax season exists is because lightweight operators, lightweight business owners with lightweight accountants, frankly, they do their taxes like they bring in the shoebox and they do their taxes once a year, and they want rose petal service and they want everything done yesterday, and it's all like a big, the guy's got 150 clients and they're all 125 of them are coming all at once. Like, you don't need to be a rocket scientist to work out that this is a log jam, a bottleneck. This is a pain. And by the way, you think you're going to get your books done in a 10 out of 10 fashion in that manner, or do you think you'd be better off going to the accountant 4 to 10 to 12 times a year and have your books done properly from the get-go and getting a little bit of advice? And by the way, a tax return, a business owner will get a tax return and call it a financial statement. And that's just ridiculous, right? Like, a tax return is not a financial statement in any way, shape, or form, right? It's, you need a balance sheet. You need a cash flow statement. You need a profit and loss, right? An income statement. So anyways, so I go to the accountant and say, how your clients all come to see you once a year? Introduce me to 3. Don't introduce me to everybody. Introduce me to 3. Take me for a test drive. And I will make sure that those 3 that you introduce me to, they will start to come to see you at a minimum 4 times a year, most likely 10 times a year, possibly more, because I want to work with business owners. I got to be able to look at the scoreboard, and without tracking and economics and numbers from you, financials from you, I can't look at the scoreboard. I won't be able to coach them. So you're charging about $2,000 a year right now. Those fees are going to go up to $5,000 to $10,000 for the ones that I'm working with, and I will personally guarantee that those 3 come in that many times a year, right? And then, by the way, so if you do it for 3, and what did I say? The guy's got 125 clients that are all coming at once. He's going to want to work with all 125 of them, because he's like, can you do that with all of them? That was amazing. Like, you solved his problem, right? The same way, if I go to an advertising medium, they sell advertising. What's the biggest problem? So hard to get somebody to buy the ad, but when they do, the guy quits after 90 days because the ad isn't working. And I will say, here's what I will do. Introduce me to somebody who just started advertising, and I will make sure, tell me what they're spending, and I will help you double their ad budget, like double their ad with you. And I'll make sure that they don't cancel in 12 months and I can't guarantee it, but I will do my best. And that's all I can do. But that being said, you'll never meet a bigger fan of advertising than I, because I believe that, everybody's building their most off word of mouth and referrals. And I think that's great. But I think that, advertising to profit is a superpower. And it is, by the way, but advertising to profit is a superpower and nobody's doing it. So if you introduce me to somebody who's advertising in your magazine, in your radio, on your billboard, in your online directory, I will personally make sure that they double whatever they're spending now. I'll work to double it over the 12 months, and I will certainly make sure that you retain those customers. It's going to be like, really? And by the way, send me 3 as a test drive and let's see how I do. And then do it for business broker. You know how the phone rings and these guys are a waste of time? Send them to me and I'll send them back in 12 months ready to sell. You know what I mean? So business, instead of the mistake, and we've talked about this to death, but it could never be said enough. Business owners, business coaches, as humans, right? Ideas. You want to change your spidey senses to problems, and then solutions. So I look for problems and I solve them. That's how I get it. That's what I just did. I went to a JV partner and instead of trying to convince him to sell me a bunch of people and tell him how much money that I'm going to send him, which will not motivate a good portion of them because it just feels a bit off. And by the way, anybody could make that value proposition. When I go to the business owner and I solve his biggest problem, and that's the way I present it, it's a total, it just changes everything. So actually, can I just say, and here's another one, JB. So one of the things we do, we provide an academy, a business academy for all of our folks. So at full retail price, it would be $500 a month or $6,000 a year. And then we've also got, group coaching software, group coaching, the exact same dynamic. Put $500 a month at it. Could sell for much more than that, but go $500 a month, $6,000 a year. Go to the accountant and say, look, a lot of your business owners are struggling with marketing and to grow their business. Yes or no? Says yes, of course. Well, I want to donate 10. I want to donate 10 memberships to my online business academy, to my group coaching, and 10, and it comes at a value of $6,000 each. So 10 multiplied by 6, that's $60,000 of value that I would like to gift you. So everybody's going to the accountant and saying, hey, send me everybody. And then you're going in as Santa Claus instead of the Grinch, right? You're giving, if your goal was to pick up the phone and just see how many people you could give away 10 memberships to, right? Like at $60,000 a time, 10 of them would be $600,000 that you gave away. I don't know if that's the cold call that you're making. Do you think you might do a little bit better than what you're currently doing? The answer would be probably. What do you think, Shoots? That's probably.
Well, what I find interesting is that you're using some of the tactics, like for getting businesses, just the way that you used to try and get dates. Like, hey, just take me for a test drive and see how she goes. It's pretty interesting. Did that work for you, by the way? Like, I don't know if that. I personally, I wouldn't advise it, but hey, it's worth a shot, right? But there you go. Hey, listen, direct mail. Let's talk about direct mail, because I honestly think that what's old is new and what's new is old sort of situation. I love, I'm falling more and more in love with direct mail these days for a variety of reasons. But before I get into mine, let's listen to what the big shooter has to say about direct mail. What are your thoughts on direct mail?
So, well, just get a list. You got 50 business owners that you want to invite to your events or to get on the phone. But again, you could couple this with live event mastery. But basically, you get a list of 50 business owners that you want to work with that would make sense. You do some homework. You got to build a really good, credible list. So you got the right name, you've got the right address, and then instead of mailing it, FedEx it, right, and do lumpy mail. Okay, where you could send you could go to the dollar shop and go buy 50 little grandfather clocks, okay, and put that in what we call lumpy mail, and send it and start it off with, look, I really want to save you. I want to start with saving you some time. So I sent you this little mini grandfather clock for your kid, right? Or you could go get some sand from the beach, or you can easily go buy some of that. You got sand from the beach. or hopefully you live near a beach and you can just go grab it yourself, put it in a Ziploc, put it in whatever, and just say, hey, look, I know you haven't had a trip to the beach in a while, or it's about time you and your family had a trip to the beach. So I sent you this. How are we going to do it? We're going to pay for it through increased sales, increased revenues, increased profits, etc. Let me, rip through my profit acceleration software and advise you. So bottom line, direct mail, doing lumpy mail, but doing it via FedEx versus licking, just stamps. But you got to get 50 people and have a good letter. And then, by the way, you got to text them, you got to email them, you got to phone them, you got to leave a voice message. Do you know what I mean? Like, you got to, don't just do direct mail and then leave it to direct mail. Again, have a 360 matrix type approach. You're using direct mail, but then you call up and say, hey, just wanted to make sure you got my letter, right? You want to send an email, hey, just wanted to make sure you got my letter. And they're coming at them 9 ways to Sunday. And by the way, follow up, so then you call once and they don't respond. Question is, are you going to give up? And that's where, you got to touch them about 10 times nowadays in order to get that yes. So keep touching them. And do it in an automated way. So, but yeah, direct mail shoots, I agree. Look, direct mail is one of those things. It's kind of gone by the wayside because it's all about Facebook ads, etc. But direct mail is one of those long-lasting dinosaur type activities that will always work. And it's so much more. See, when you go to the networking function, the problem that I see is who dictates who's coming to the networking function. And it's like, the event is. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't control who's going. If you're not picking up the phone and inviting people, then you're just kind of, ad hoc hoping that the right kind of business owner. If you like to help fencing companies, you like to help landscaping companies, you like to help chiropractors, you like to help, whatever business owner it is, any type of business. Well, there's no guarantee they're there. Direct mail, you pick the 50 that you're going to be mailing to. And of course, you're going to be mailing to the types of companies that you feel the most comfortable of able to help. Right. So direct mail is a good one, bud. Sure.
Okay, so I just want to follow up with two things on that, and I want to power through the last two here. But before we wrap up, the thing that I love about direct mail, and I think that you'll 100% agree with this, is just the clarity of knowing specifically, forcing you to sit down and create a list of exactly who you're targeting. Like that in and of itself is gold right there. But, like I always think of the old, I think it was Russell Brunson had that strategy where it's like he got a result. And again, if you're new, go and work with somebody for free and get them a result, a great result, record and get all that, get the testimonial, and then find other businesses like that in nearby towns, send it to them and their competition and say, basically, hey, if you want this, I also sent this to, your competition. First one to get back to me, I'm going to work with, right? And I'm going to help. Like, what's old is new. And people now love, it's like, I hate my inbox now, right? Like, I've actually taken my email off of my phone because I don't even want to hear it. I don't even want to see it. I can wait until I get back to my computer and to my office. I don't need to be checking that every 3 seconds. So anyways, what do you think of that, Karl?
Yeah, I like, building an avatar, right? Like building, like you said, you're going to pick 50, 100, 500 business owners. Doing direct mail is going to make you sit down and get really, really clear on who it is that you want to work with. So yeah, perfect. I totally agree. And what do you say was old is new? It's like it's thought of as old school, but you know what? It's like retargeting on Facebook with like you're retargeting online with ads. You're literally retargeting them offline. Like where else are they going to hear from you? But anyways, real quick, let's kind of power through these. Again, talk about being specific and knowing exactly who you're looking to serve. Trade shows. Why don't you talk about trade shows for a sec? I think you could build, if you you wanted to help X landscaping companies, furniture stores, furniture manufacturers, you could just find trade shows and just go from, actually, if you just stayed in Vegas and went to trade show to trade, there's a trade show every single weekend in Vegas. And of course, they're different niches, which may or may not be what you're looking for. But you could just go from, and again, you want to have a pre-trade show game plan, at trade show game plan, post trade show game plan, right? Like, in other words, have the follow-up material ready. Because what happens with consistency is people go to these trade shows, have a great event. Oh my gosh, great, met some great people. They sit down at the computer and like, okay, now what am I going to send the guy? What's my response, right? Get all that stuff together so that you're just ready to press go when you get back to the office with a small amount of personalization in each. But yeah, trade shows. I mean, it could be, yeah, you can just stay in Vegas and watch trade show after trade show come through, go to those events and get good. Remember, like, if you got 20 clients at $2,000 a month, that's 480 grand, right? You're charging $4,000 a month. You're almost at $1 million. And remember, you're getting your 80% margins. So you don't need 400, depending upon what your goals are, trajectory of your coaching company, kind of where you're at. Are you starting off? Are you novice? Are you kind of expert? Are you like semi-retired and, 20 clients is like more than you want to handle right now? You might want to have, 10 and be charging $4,000 a month in order to get to your 480 grand. You know what I mean? Like, little red arrow, you are here. And then what is it that you want? The line in between those is the coaching, is the goal, is the roadmap. But trade shows could get it done. Or you just picked, furniture, furniture manufacturers, furniture stores, and you just follow those trade shows. They're going to be all over North America, all over the world. And you just really, really good at that. Then you're traveling. I'm speaking to somebody with this that likes to travel. Again, some people haven't done a lot of traveling and they love the idea of travel, right? Like, for me, I couldn't just, you know what I mean? No chance. I'm just not. I avoid it like nothing else. I just do not want to go to the airport. I don't want to get on an airplane. I don't want. My wife loves Europe. It's not that I hate Europe. It's just I don't want to go to Europe. The time change and everything else just messes with me. And I just, I'm just happily doing my thing. But that's so that strategy ain't going to work for me is what I'm getting at. But this isn't about me. This is about you. You love the idea of going to Europe. You love the idea of going to Vegas. You love the idea of going to Orlando, Florida, where the trade show is. Well, this gets you out of the house. You get to go see some new cities, some new, whatever, you go to Disney World with, take your kid with you, go to Disney World. That would be Orlando, by the way. So there you go, Shoots. But yeah, trade shows. I think that easily could be done. If somebody's going to a trade show, they're trying to grow their business, you're going to be able to sell them something if you're any good.
The one thing I'm going to add to that real quick, and then we'll get to our favorite one, and then we'll wrap. If you're looking to build your list, because you sort of made the comment of, like whatever, furniture manufacturing, don't just look at them. Who's supplying them? Who's also selling to them? How can you partner as a JV there? How can you work with them maybe to get into their direct mail? How can you maybe get them to pay for half of your direct mail? How else, like all of these things, right? So don't just look at the actual industry that you want to serve, but who else is already serving that industry that you could leverage? So just want to throw that out there. But now, and I don't want to get you another tangent here because we got to get wrapped up. And I know this is our hands down, slam dunk, guaranteed way to build your coaching business. Live events. All right, Shoots, have at it. Live events.
Okay, so roadmap. And this is, again, one we've handled internally. We got a program called Live Event Mastery. You're a client of ours. Just go straight to that. But look, you got to book a venue, hand them your credit card and pay, commit. In other words, don't soft play it like, hey, if I can get enough people on Tuesday, do you have a room for me? Do you know what I mean? Like, get your venue, pay for it. The chamber, a penthouse in an expensive hotel, the golf course, the yacht club, oil and gas, all sorts of, really good venues. You could do it in the boardroom of an accountant's office. You could do that, but that's not, is that my first choice? No. If I'm doing a JV with that accountant, that's a great choice, but that's not what I'm doing if I'm trying to get local business owners from all shapes and sizes. Now you got to make a list. The way you make a list is you got to have reasons. So they're a member of the chamber. That's the reason I'm inviting them. They're advertising in the, local online directory. That's the reason. They're advertising in the local newspaper. That's the reason. They're advertising in a magazine. That's the reason. They were up for some awards. That's the reason. If they won the award, that's the reason. If they're in the top three, that's the reason. They're in the top three, but they didn't win. That's the reason. If they're in the top 10 and didn't make the top three, that can be your reason. Right, so you're calling them the reason we're inviting you. They're a chiropractor, that's the reason. They're a dentist, that's the reason. They're a realtor, that's the reason. They're also a member of that chamber, that's the reason. The girl at the chamber recommend their companies, that's the reason. You know what I mean? So again, make a list of business owners, but not just, you can just make a sporadic list, but I would make more sense that they have their business for sale, that's the reason. So make a list of business owners, but when you call them, again, you're calling with a bit of a reason. Believe me, your opportunity, your chances of getting them to your event significantly increase. I'd be calling them myself for a period of time before I had other people calling on my behalf, which is where I would absolutely get to, a little boiler room. But I'd just be calling them myself and inviting them. If you're too good for that, like I said, your coaching is going to be too good for you, in that it's not about you. If you're all fixated on your inability to cold call, you're just totally isolated. You're just thinking about you, and you're probably not going to make it. Remember, the coaches that don't get very far are the ones that day to day, week to week, month to month, quarter to quarter decide if they're going to continue, right? You got to go all in. If you're all in, you're not going to have a problem just picking up the phone and inviting some people. Like here's the question. Are you going to do it when they do come to the event? Are you going to change their freaking life? Do you have the most amazing presentation, the most amazing entertainment, the most amazing few people that are going to be in the room that you're going to call upon, are going to say some amazing things about you or amazing things that you've done together that's really going to shift the people in the room? Well, if that's the commitment that you have and that's where you feel like you're going to get to, you'll be that much more excited to pick up the phone. If you're really, really nervous about the event and are you going to be any good, you don't have content, you don't have the slides, and you don't have entertainment organized, well, then you're going to be more hesitant to pick up the phone. So again, make it about them. Plan to have the most amazing presentation of all time that, by the way, over time will improve. Everything compounds. Your presentation will improve. That will compound. Your ability to deliver it will compound. The referrals that you get will compound. The quality of the attendees will compound. Your level of preeminence in the community will compound. People's what am I saying? Your brand, and that they'll start to know that you're the person that runs the event at the chamber every Tuesday at 7 a.m. Your brand will start to compound. You got to have, what I'm getting at here is you got to be consistent. If you do it every Tuesday at 7 a.m., even if there's 2 people there one week, 20 the next, 3 the next, 30 the next, it's inconsistent that way. Your consistency, what's critical, you'll end up with a booming business. But at the end of the day, so I would call them myself and I would call it the reason. I would have somebody call the day before to confirm their attendance, and that person needs to be sell. So like your wife or your husband or your daughter or your son would be a really, really good person, somebody with some sales ability, not just a monotone person. That could be you, but generally speaking, if you have somebody else to do the follow-up, that's the way I would do it. Plus, it's ineffective use of your time to a degree. But do a great job. Be highly educational and highly entertaining. It's not just about the content. It's about the entertainment. If you go to see Tony Robbins, it's a 4-day rock concert, not by accident. There's magic behind that. When they come to your event, make sure that it's heaps of fun. Be funny. Have prepared jokes. Maybe a couple people in the audience. Have somebody there helping out who's, super engaging, etc. Always ask for referrals at the end of it. What's going to happen is if I had 10 people come to the event, my goal is to always get 2 referrals per person. So rather than like a revenue goal or like a number of appointments goal, I found that if I got 2 referrals per person that was in the room, everything else looked after itself, the money, the appointments, etc. But the magic, what's the biggest pain in the butt of running live events? And that's getting more people to your next event, right? So the referrals on the bottom of your feedback form are just pure gold for you to be able to fill the event in future events. Will all of those people come? No. But if you have 10 people in the room and you end up getting 20 referrals and 4 of those referrals show up next week and your goal is to get 10 people, you've only now got to get 6 because 4 already came from the referrals, right? And that's where you get this compounding effect. And by the way, if the other 16 don't come to the next event, keep inviting them, keep inviting them, keep inviting them, keep inviting them, and you'll get 4 here, 4 there. Takes the pressure off of lead gen big time. But just live events, just be ruthless. And by the way, another little magic button is JVs. We talked about it earlier. Get an accountant in the room. Okay. Your goal is to then do a killer presentation with killer content, when I say killer entertainment, you don't need to be Madonna, right? But get up there and do a good job, be funny, etc. Deliver your material in a good and engaging way. And then that one accountant that has 150 clients, a relationship with that person, that accountant can completely change the trajectory of your business. It takes you from trying to generate leads to struggling to keep up, because that guy wants to get you in front of all of his clients. And he's going to do that same presentation in his boardroom once every 2 weeks for 10 of his clients at a time, right? And then get the magazine publisher to the next one. He's got advertisers, do the same thing for him. And the next time, bring a business broker, do the same thing with him. And you just keep doing the event, keep doing the event, keep doing the event. Everything starts to move in the in the right direction. And by the way, when you're first getting out, someone is a bit of a networking. Not only are they going to get a great presentation with some great content, and you there, it's a bit of a networking opportunity, and to meet. If you're a realtor, there'll be a mortgage broker. If you're a mortgage broker, there'll be a realtor. Et cetera. There's a gym, there'll be a personal trainer. A personal trainer, there'll be a gym. If there's, a cosmetic surgeon, there's going to be a beautician, and a beautician, there's going to be a cosmetic surgeon, et cetera. So you know what I mean? So it is a bit of a networking opportunity also. But Road Dog, look, we've talked about it many a times. If I started again, and I've got lots of content out there where I can show you, or my live event in Business Coaching Mastery, I just go, if I started again, here's what I would do. And I just gave you Cole's notes version of what I said there. And I would say the next time that I present something similar, you just live event, book it. And then don't do it once and report back and let us know how it went. You got to do 10 events. And that's when the compounding starts. You just do 3 and report back. It's probably not going to be a fantastic situation. And the last time Road Dog and I did an event, did it together, got 100% conversion. That's not closed, and that's not to appointment. That is the closed high-end coaching client. But by the way, there's only 12 people in the room. There was 7 buying units. All 7 people ended up buying, right? So we get 100% conversion at that event. But I've also done it hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times. So if you do a live event, are you going to expect to get 100% conversion? And I would say hard no. This is probably not realistic for you, but that is okay. Guess what? You got to do it. You think the first time and the 10th time, you think you're going to get a little bit better results the 10th time? And the answer is absolutely. So you just got to one foot in front of the other. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. Get your first live event going. But trade show, networking, all the joint venture, cold call, live events. Look, Road Dog, what you got to do is you got to pick one and just bloody go all in and just do it. Stop being so intimidated, is what I would say to the average coach about lead gen. Of everything you do in coaching, it's probably the most scientific, right? It's the fulfillment of the coaching that takes all the time. The lead gen, it's hard, but your airplane is on the ground. You got to get that airplane up to 10,000 feet, then it becomes so much easier. But don't be intimidated by it. Just bloody. It's just a function of what you got to do. So there you go, shoots. That's what I got.
All right. I'm not going to ask you what the one thing is, because you just gave us like 6. So the one thing I'm going to say, folks, is pick one. Pick one of those and run with it. Like full on sprint. And remember, to quote Karl Bryan, you don't have to be Madonna. So there you go. Who listens to Madonna these days? Like, dude, that she's like, come on, you gotta pick Biebs or somebody, we gotta pick somebody a little bit more relevant, perhaps.
I was so in love with that girl when I was young. It was just embarrassing. I can't even. I love it.
A story for another time, folks. So there you go. The registered beautician himself, Karl Bryan, who had a love romance with the one and only Madonna, only in his mind, of course. But anyways, Listen, everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Business Coaching Secrets. If you're not on the inside and getting access to the pre-show, or you aren't getting Karl's daily emails, or you just want more information on the access of all the stuff that Karl keeps alluding to when it comes to the software and the programs and all of that stuff, go to focus.com and subscribe today and get on that list. And again, if you enjoyed the podcast, please share, please rate, please review, do all the things to help us become the rock stars that Karl believes that we are. And that is it for another week, folks. Remember, as I always say every single week, progress equals happiness. Take care, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Karl Bryan built Profit Acceleration Software 2.0 to train business coaches how to find any small business owner more than $100,000 in 45 minutes without them spending an extra dollar on marketing or advertising. This becomes a business coach's superpower. So as a business coach, you'll never again have to worry about working with business owners that can't afford your high-end coaching fees. Check us out at focused.com.